It's been a busy week.
It's not even the fate of this government. It's actually the fate of a 120-year-old project called the Labour Party.
Where did it all go wrong yesterday, Health Secretary?
They will know that the guy they're applauding is toast.
He has my support, the government has my support.
And it is only a matter of time before you pull him out and put the butter on, right? He represents a kind of stability. I would say the stability of a graveyard.
As things stand, are things pretty terminal?
You can throw names around. Andy Burnham, Angela Rayner. However, as far as the energy in British politics has gone, it has deserted this government.
Well, joining me is Aditya Chakrabortty. Thanks so much for being with us in the studio, Aditya. It's great to see you.
Pleasure, Lisa.
So what a 24 hours it has been. Around this time yesterday, we would likely have been having a conversation about the likelihood of the lectern being placed outside number 10. We had Sarwar, the leader of Scottish Labour, due to speak then. But as the afternoon went on, and has been covered in an exceptional episode of Today in Focus this morning, which I would urge you to listen to, about a story of the day, Keir Starmer now seems in a relatively strong position to continue. He addressed his own MPs at the Parliamentary Labour Party last night, the PLP, which went down well, it sounds like. Lots of standing ovations, lots of applause.
You surprised me, Lucy. I mean, in the forum of the Parliamentary Labour Party, having a meeting in which people do performative applause for periods of time, bang the desks, say what a wonderful Prime Minister they've got. I mean, the thing I would say about every one of those 400 plus MPs is they will know that the guy they're applauding is toast.
Right.
And it is only a matter of time before you pull him out and put the butter on, right? They know he's over.
Yeah.
And they know he's over because we came into this year talking about how long he's got left. As you know as well as I do, that we are heading into a very important by-election at the end of February and then local elections. And from time immemorial, it seems to me, because listening to political chat ages you. It's very bad for your skincare. But all I've been hearing is, when is it that he's going to face a challenge?
Yeah.
So I would take what you heard out of the PLP meeting with the backbenchers yesterday with an absolute Saxo bottle of salt and just think that everyone knows that he's gone. It's just a case of when he actually is pushed.
Yeah, or that this has come slightly too early and that the people who are preparing themselves for that leadership challenge aren't quite in a position to do so yet. So let's stick with Starmer, the feeling perhaps is amongst some quarters, until after May, and let him get us through that and get the drubbing and then stand down after that.
I think that has been the lay of the land for a long time, is that you've basically got a bunch of people who might want to put themselves in a frame, but they haven't got what it takes.
Yeah.
And so every now and then you get one of these moments, and it was, yesterday was a point at which, the guy from Scotland stands up and say, who's with me? And then no one's with him. Last week, it was a release of the Epstein files and Manson's name all over them. And it's, we want to move, but no one moves. Yeah. And this happens a lot because the prime movers, the names that come up, well, they're not able to challenge Keir Starmer yet. I mean, everyone knows Andy Burnham tried for it and then was blocked by bureaucrats. Angela Rayner is still going through this tax investigation. If she wants to go for it beyond that, who knows? And then Wes Streeting is tarred by association with Peter Mandelson, because going by what we've seen of the various communications that he's released so far, he was very much Mandelson's protege. Wes Streeting's seen as a standard bearer for Mandelsonian politics, what we now call New Labour. Peter Mandelson created New Labour.
Yeah.
So I find it really difficult to prize the two apart. And if you take that from what's been displayed in public over the past few days, is basically the power worship and the money worship that lay at the heart of New Labour and that ruined New Labour as a project, was then trained on Jeffrey Epstein by Peter Mandelson. Well, I think Wes Streeting has to show, not just to say, but show that he's different from that, and that he has not yet shown. There
is a meeting of the cabinet this morning, described as a political meeting. Again, lots of smiles, Cheshire Cat smiles around the cabinet table. Wes Streeting there, as you say, with probably some questions to answer, and certain people around that table who are not very happy with what is clearly a very political sign to show he's on manoeuvres. as you say, absolutely not a secret. But there are others who are, clearly, as you say, not currently credible as potential leadership candidates, but who have potentially ambition to. Ed Miliband, reportedly. Angela Rayner, who is under investigation over her taxes. Wes Keating, who we've talked about, but others, Shabana Mahmood. If we look at, say, the Burnham, Miliband, Rayner collective, I mean, they are all on the soft left of the party. Ed Miliband on the broadcast round this morning was talking about this as a moment to look again at Labour's values, talking about the cost of living, clearly a pitch to that soft left. And I'm wondering, with McSweeney gone, Morgan McSweeney, such an influential figure in Starmerism gone, does that open us up to potentially a moment of a reset to tack a bit further to the soft left?
No, that's a really good question. Because, look, here I think is the major thing that you have seen played out with Keir Starmer's government over the past 19 months, right? It has become clear, the further along we go, that there is less to it than meets the eye. Yeah. Less to it than meets the eye, right? Their programme of change turned out to be no change, right? The guy who said that he's going to take Britain back and introduce new standards of decency ends up being the guy who puts in the friend of a notorious paedophile as in giving him the most plum job in British diplomacy. And then you get this general sense, well, he represents a kind of stability. I would say the stability of a graveyard, right? and then you have this general sense, well, at least these guys can win elections. Well, look at the polling, right? These people are now rivaling the Green Party for where they stand at the moment. You know, Kemi Badenoch and Keir Starmer are level pegging when it comes to winning the hearts of the British people. So it's not going well.
No.
The bigger question that I think that lies behind all of that, if you agree with me that there is less to this party than meets the eye, then you say, well, what is actually left? The puddle has shrunk so far, it's evaporated so far. What's actually left? And you can throw names around. You can talk about Andy Burnham, Angela Rayner. These are all, very engaging people who have said good things, I think, and thoughtful things over time. However, the general social base of the Labour Party, the people who would turn out, vote for it, door knock for it, convince their friends to turn out and do the business for their party, has evaporated as well. And the reason it has evaporated is squarely because of Morgan McSweeney and his gang and the behaviour they were licensed to adopt by Keir Starmer. So anyone who was associated with Jeremy Corbyn obviously is verboten, gets chucked out of the party, right? Then on the so-called soft left that you were talking about, Neil Lawson, a 60-something-year-old man who tweeted about how we should be nice to each other in British politics, he gets suspended and threatened with expulsion. And then from other wings of the party, you get Rosie Duffield, who says she gets bullied out of the Labour government by a bunch of boys in a back room. So anyone who gets in the way of these people, of this very narrow faction of the Labour Party, is basically thrown under a huge truck and they are disposed of. This is hugely important because it doesn't matter then what the guys say, what the woman says, what kind of slogan you come out with tomorrow. As far as the energy in British politics has gone, it has deserted this government. Right, no one is going to turn out and vote for them with anything apart from I just need to stop Nigel Farage. That's the only thing that's on the agenda now. And the problem that you get, Lucy, is that you've had carefully where the stop reform vote went to Plaid. You've got Gorton coming up at the end of this month, and it's very likely that the stop reform vote may well go to the Greens. And then you've got a bunch of council elections at which Labour are going to be absolutely massacred.
Yeah. So just finally, Aditya, I mean, we know the problems about Starmer as a politician, that he's a poor communicator, that he's perceived by the public to have very little in the way of political nous, that he lacks an overriding vision. McSweeney is now gone, which I think in the context of what you've just been talking about, the very brutal purge of the left from within the party, is there any hope of a reshaping ahead of May, do you think, or as things stand, are things pretty terminal?
One of the most revealing conversations I've had this week has been with someone who actually has known Morgan McSweeney for decades.
Right.
Doesn't agree with him at all on what he's done, but has been friends with him. They said to me, you know what? It's not even the fate of this government, because we assume that this government is, under Keir Starmer is drawing to an end. It's actually the fate of a 120-year-old project called the Labour Party.
Right.
Because if you throw out so many of the people who were at the leading edge of it, if you throw out so many members, if you say to loads and loads of people who are Muslim or left-wing or trans or whatever, actually, we don't want your vote, we'll be fine, right? All you're left with is a small faction. And do you know what Morgan McSweeney's great big electoral victory before the 2024 election was? It was getting Liz Kendall 3.5% of the vote in the leadership elections of 2015, right?
Yeah.
The people who are in charge of the government now represent a tiny niche within a niche within a niche of this country. That is a problem. So as far as rebuilding Labour, rebuilding government, these are huge projects. They're not going to happen before May. It's arguable now whether they can happen over the course of this parliament. That is the challenge that Keir Starmer has presented his own party with.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait to see what the next weeks and months bring, because they are very, very critical ones indeed. Thank you so much, Aditya.
Thank you, Lucy.